I've heard that the Canucks like Bozak. I've heard Travis Green likes Bozak. I've seen Dollywall has already linked, said they've called about Meehan and Newport about Bozak already. I'm expecting them to make a pitch for Bozak. It doesn't mean I love Bozak, or I think like people are texting in, stop with all this fucking Bozak talk. And one guy texted in, you started all of this on the podcast. He texted, and I'm like,
podcast
what?
is powerful. We know that.
I didn't start it all on the podcast. This is happening. Like, it's not, Bozak's not at the top of my list of a guy that they should spend their cap dollars on. But I do look at that center group, and Jim listed it off for me, and he got Horvat, and he got Sutter, and then he went Gaudette. Who knows if Gaudette is even ready? He certainly didn't show me anything at the final, whatever it was, number of games that he was ready to be a consistent top 9 player in the center in the NHL. And then after that, it was Gagne and Granlund.
Yeah, that's right, too. There's no other way about it. I will say this. When I talked to Travis 2 weeks ago, he was really high. I didn't write about it, but just we were chatting. He was really high on what he saw from Gaudette. Again, those are 5 meaningless games at the end of the season in which he didn't produce a point. Right. And that's not knocking him. Like, he's a young guy making the transition, but Travis really liked what he saw and thought he got better every game. And so, there was something.
But you know how difficult it was for Horvat to transition,
Absolutely.
right? It's very rare. We have seen it very rarely here where someone pulls a Brock Besser, steps into the lineup, and he is a special talent. And I'm all for Gaudette playing. I'm playing lots. Play him, coach. I'd love to see it. I want to see Gaudette on the team. But he may struggle. Like, and Horvat, who had, the first round pedigree and all of that, it took him a long time to get it, and especially to get the offensive side of it.
Right. He had those long runs where there was no point production whatsoever. Like, you look at him now, and it's hard to imagine that, but,
Right. So so if you put Gaudette as one of your centers, I don't think that's a line that's producing much. Like, it'd be very difficult, or if you're expecting that line to produce much, man, your expectations may be a little bit too high. And then we know Sutter's line's not going to do much. What are we left with? Beagle? Like, that's 3 lines that aren't doing anything?
Right. Now, look, this week here where teams have the ability to contact players and agents, the Canucks aren't doing their due diligence if they're not making those phone calls. Just because they make the phone calls, these guys are unrestricted free agents. Like, they ultimately get the say. They're going to get their money wherever they go, right? So I'm not worried when I hear that the Canucks have made calls. Like, look, the Bozak thing's been out there for months. Beagle, people have sort of been connecting that dot for a little while. My issue with a guy like Jay Beagle is, a team like the Canucks, they see what he did for the Washington. Like, he was perfectly slotted as a 4th-line center on a good Washington Capitals team. Team like the Canucks will throw money at him.
Turns out a great, the best team in the league, it turns out.
But a team like the Canucks, where they'll throw money, they'll throw term, and they'll also try to play him higher. Look what he did in Washington. Imagine what he could do for the Canucks.
Right.
Like, that's what I hate about free agency. We see it time and time again. And so I am a little concerned. They got all this money. Right. That doesn't mean they're going to spend it, but I'm worried that, Bozak next year, could he insulate young guys and help? Sure, for a year, but they're not getting him for a year.
No.
You're getting him for 3 or 4, and, that's where it gets stupid, because 3 years from now, when they're this amazing team that you promised me.
Look, I didn't promise an amazing team, but they better be good. I'm not doing this for
right,
another.
but where would a Bozak
7 years into the gutter?
Where would a Bozak slot in 3 years from now when you've got these emerging guys, and now you're going to have this 34 going on 35-year-old who's probably getting way more than he deserves?
4th line? But I expected him to get 4.5, but the guy in Dallas, they were telling me he's going to command 5.
Right, and right there, I'm out if I'm the Canucks.
Yeah.
I think you can find somebody on a short, and again, free agents want term, and they've worked to get to this point. Like, I hear Riley Nash, I understand it, 29 years of age, there aren't many guys under 30. He had a nice season in Boston.
Yeah. He's
going to command some, and there's a team out there that's going to look at his numbers and see that he's 29, and they think that they can get 4 years out of him, and they're going to overpay him. Yeah, he's got ties to British Columbia, played in the BC Hockey League, all that. Great. If the Canucks would get him at a manageable figure, I'd be kind of intrigued by a Riley Nash. But
I think they will try to get a younger player. They're certainly focused on that, 25 and under crowd and adding more players of that age. So, and I think of 31 Thoughts where Friedman said Tobias Reeder would become a free agent. And that's a guy the Canucks have chased before. They made offers with the Coyotes or talked to the Coyotes when he was available. So I think that potentially could be a target. I think he's 25. I'm not thrilled chasing like 32-year-old Beagle and 32-year-old Bozak. I don't think that fits in with what they're trying to do. But if they had traded Sutter and got a nice return there, we know, as I've said before here, the 3 California teams called about him. Turns out Pittsburgh's called about him as well. Man, if you could get a return there and then have Bozak plug that hole for a couple of years, 3 years, I don't know. There's worse plans than that, I think.
Right, but that involves a trade of a player on the current roster, and that's what, even with the defense, like, it's great that they got Hughes and Wu, but Botch, we sit here,
I know,
like, we're a week away from their team essentially being shaped for next year.
I know.
And they have the same crappy top to bottom, no offense from the back end, unless Quinn Hughes turns pro and makes this team, and I don't see that happening this year.